One of the biggest issues that many students have is the fact that sometimes more content knowledge doesn't always directly translate into higher scores. Now, why is this an issue for MCAT and where does it come up? Pretty much, the fundamental difference comes down to recall-based knowledge versus recognition. The fundamental difference here is that if an information piece is able to be recalled, that means it could be brought up to your memory with minimal memory aid. Think about it kind of like it's a fill in the blank question. You don't have any hints as to what it could be except for the context clues, and you have to fill in the blank with the knowledge that you've previously had, and you have some memory aids. Whereas recognition is more so based on recognizing the correct concept from a bunch of concepts that are presented. The most common example of this would be multiple choice style questions. And the issue that students have is that for most of your school-based education, including kindergarten, elementary, middle, high school, and most of college, we tend to learn and function in a recognition-based format just because our standardized exams, whether they be SAT, college level exams, or high school level exams, typically function in a multiple choice-based format for the most part and cover topics from a limited set of values. What does that mean? So for example, if you have an organic chem test and it's on chapters 1 through 3, and on that exam, you have a question that asks you for a certain thing. You know, generally, for the most part, hopefully, if the professor's nice, that the information needed to answer that question was located somewhere in chapters 1 through 3. But with the AAMC, that's not the case. Remember, because let's say you're in the Chem Phys section, which has organic chemistry on it. They can ask any piece of organic chemistry from anything that's available to be tested in that section at any time and even ask it multiple times. So the reason why that's important is because at any time, AAMC is basically forcing you to recall information with a minimal memory aid. They know that students have historically learned all their information in a recognition-based pattern and have specifically built the test to prioritize recall-based learning. And here's where students get into trouble. It's because since AAMC knows this, they build their questions to maximize confusion when students use recognition-based learning styles. So let's take a look at an example. For those that haven't studied for the MCAT yet, this might be a little bit confusing, but for those that have studied the MCAT, you're probably very familiar with this topic. So going through the answer choices, give yourself a second, pause the video, and try to solve it. So if you were looking at these answer choices and then decided that all of a sudden there's no correct answer or answer that you feel is appropriate, that would be true because none of these are correct. The correct answer would be initiative versus guilt. I promise that with this example, we weren't trying to trick you. The focus of this example was to showcase that despite the fact that the correct answer wasn't there, when you read the answer choices, you recognized them. You knew that a lot of these were concepts that were broadly related to Erik Erikson's stages, and some of them even were Erik Erikson's stages. But despite having recognition of all these concepts, you were unable to specifically recall Erik Erikson's third stage. Or for the most part, most students probably weren't able to explicitly list out Erik Erikson's third stage. But if Erik Erikson's third stage showed up in a group without other Erikson stages, it would probably be a lot easier to recognize it. And AAMC knows this. If you take a look at all their questions across sections 1, 3, and 4, these are the heavy content-based sections. And what they do is typically they group like terms together in order to maximize recognition because they know that students are using a heavy recognition-based flashcard method to study for the exam. Remember, AAMC is a professional test-taking company. They study how students study for the exam in order to build it in a way that gives students more of an issue. Because remember, they have to maintain their curve. So in situations like this can be a very tricky thing to accommodate for. But the key here is that students, when planning their study schedules, should shift the focus of most of their content work to more heavily based recall methods. If you want a full explanation of what methods are generally more recall based versus recognition based, you can get our study plan module for free on our website. Even though students can have pretty good success on third-party practice sections with just recognition-based knowledge, you have to remember that the AAMC is going to look very different. So if you've historically had difficulty switching over from third-party to AAMC material, or feel like that is probably a significant contributor, definitely check out our material, and we hope this helped. Alright, that was a complicated lesson. If you still need help, check out our full-length blog post that we linked in the video description, explore more of our YouTube channel, or just head on over to MCATsavior.com where you can get all of our strategy courses for free.